Hello, my name is Carolyn Mueller, and I would like to welcome you to the presentation of our disposable PPE Category 1 gowns. I would like to briefly introduce you to the content of this presentation. Firstly, I will go into the regulatory background for Category 1 gowns and the issue of cross-contamination, which plays a key role in these gowns. I will then introduce you to our disposable gowns and then our protective gowns, going into detail about important product features and individual details where the gowns differ from one another. Finally, I will give you a few specific examples of how the gowns can be used. In the world of personal protective equipment, also known as PPE for short, there are 3 different categories according to regulation on PPE, which define the hazards against which the respective PPE protects the wearer. Category Y includes minor risks that do not pose a major hazard. These are, for example, risks such as superficial mechanical injuries or contact with hot surfaces whose temperature does not exceed 50 degrees Celsius. Category 3 includes risks that can lead to serious damage to health or even death, such as electric shock or cuts from handheld chainsaws. The categories therefore cover a wide range of risks, although the disposable gowns presented in this presentation only belong to PPE Category 1. As Category 1 PPE, they fulfill the basic health and safety requirements for PPE. They may also have undergone additional material testing to determine the barrier effect of the material. An additional classification as a medical device is also possible. Disposable gowns are a widely used measure against cross-contamination in medical environments and help to reduce infections. I will go into this in more detail in a moment. Another reason why disposable gowns are worn is to protect products, for example. In the food sector, disposable gowns are versatile and can have different product properties depending on the application. They have become indispensable in everyday clinical practice. One reason why they are often used in hospitals is that they help to prevent cross-contamination. But what does cross-contamination actually mean? In the case of cross-contamination, germs are transferred from one contaminated area to another, which is also contaminated with the germs through contact. In the food sector, for example, a person can transfer germs from raw meat to raw vegetables that are eaten as salad, for example. If the contaminated salad is eaten, this can have health consequences. In the medical field, cross-contamination is a source of infections with hospital germs in patients. Medical staff can come into contact with infectious agents when treating a patient and pass them on to another patient when treating them. Many measures are in place to prevent these infection routes, including disinfection and the use of disposable gloves or disposable gowns. It is therefore important to dispose of disposable clothing after each potential contamination and to put on new clothing. In particular, the infection pathways for MRSA pathogens, that is, multi-resistant germs that cannot simply be treated with antibiotics, must be broken so that patients who are already immunocompromised do not become infected with these aggressive pathogens. We now come to a list of our gowns in PPE Category 1. The gowns are divided into 2 different groups, disposable gowns and protective gowns, at which we will have a look later. The term disposable gowns is used here for gowns that do not have material tests for barrier properties. We will now look at these disposable gowns in detail. Let's start from the left with the EcoCoat and EcoCoat Pro gowns. Both of these gowns are made from a highly breathable, non-woven fabric, with EcoCoat having elasticated cuffs and EcoCoat Pro having knitted cuffs instead. Both gowns have an identical cut and are available in sizes M and L. The material is not resistant to liquids and should therefore not be used if the user needs to protect themselves from liquids. As PPE and medical devices, these gowns are used in the medical sector to prevent cross-contamination and as visitor gowns. The next gown, the kimono, is an opaque patient gown. The overlap at the front and the wide tie belt provide plenty of room for customization beyond the 2 sizes L and XL. The gown is also PPE and a medical device and helps the patient's well-being before, during, and after treatment. The following gown, the inspection gown, differs from the previous gowns in that it is fastened with Velcro at the front and is also only classified as PPE. The gown can be used for a wide range of applications and comes in a range of 5 different colors. From food production to clean rooms and visitor gowns, the inspection gown helps to prevent contamination. The clean room gown from our company is made from a robust, non-woven fabric. It elastics on the arms, a collar, and can be fastened at the front with press studs. It also has a breast pocket on the inside. The last gown in this list of disposable gowns is the visitor gown, which is the only gown in this overview that is made entirely of PE film and is therefore also liquid resistant. As PPE, it protects the wearer against prolonged contact with water, for example, in wet areas or in food processing. Here is a complete overview with more detailed information about the disposable gowns. You can simply pause the video. Before we start with the overview of our protective gowns, I will briefly explain what makes protective gowns protective gowns. The term protective gown is used here for gowns that have passed material tests for barrier properties based on the EN 14126 standard. The material testing includes the following tests: resistance to penetration by contaminated liquids, a penetration test with synthetic blood, resistance to penetration by blood-borne pathogens and biological contaminated aerosols, as well as resistance to contamination by solid particles. These tests involve bacteria and viruses and can be used to prove the barrier effect of the material. As medical devices, the gowns protect the patient against the spread of germs, which means cross-contamination. As personal protective equipment, the declared intended use is to protect against cleaning materials of weak action and liquid splashes. The gowns in the following overview are all made in part or in full from materials that have passed these tests. As personal protective equipment, the declared intended use is to protect against cleaning materials of weak action and liquid splashes. The gowns in the following overview are all made in part or in full from materials that have passed these tests. Here is an overview of the protective gowns from DACH. All the gowns listed here are both PPE and medical devices. The first two gowns, Splash Coat Plus and Splash Coat Pro Plus, have in common that they only have the barrier material in the front and on the sleeves. The back of the gown is made of a lightweight, breathable, non-woven fabric. This has the advantage that the body's moisture and warmth can be easily released via the back, making it comfortable even when worn for long periods. The Splash Coat Plus REF 421 has elastics on the sleeve ends, and Splash Coat Pro Plus has knitted cuffs instead. Knitted cuffs are always an advantage in combination with gloves, as they prevent the sleeve from shifting and exposing skin underneath. In addition, Ref 421 is one size, and Ref 422 has three sizes, namely ML and XL. The next two gowns have the same name, Isocoat Zytex 360, because the only difference between them is the length of the gown. REF 425 is 130 centimeters long, and REF 426 is 160 centimeters long. The advantage of the longer version is that the legs below the knees are also covered in a sitting position, which may not be the case with the REF 425 gown, depending on the size of the user. Both gowns have knitted cuffs on the sleeves and fully coated, including the back. In addition to the barrier test already mentioned, the material has also been tested for an additional property, namely resistance to the permeation of cytostatic drugs. Cytostatic drugs are used to treat cancer and are very aggressive. Due to the classification as PPE Category 1, however, these gowns may not be used for mixing cytostatics. Instead, a PPE Category 3 gown is required. The last gown in this list is the PE examination gown, which, as the name suggests, is made entirely of PE film. It is special in that its design is more like an apron with sleeves, as it has a hole for the head like an apron and ties at the waist. This design means that the back is completely uncovered, which makes it more comfortable to wear. The sleeves have a thumb loop at the end so that they always stay in place even when moving. Another feature is the so-called quick-off system. Predetermined breaking points allow you to tear the gown completely off your body without having to undo the tie around your hips first. Here is a complete overview with more detailed information about the protective gowns. You can simply pause the video. That was the complete overview of all PPE Category 1 gowns from our company. Let's take a look at some usage examples for Category 1 gowns. You will see different requirement situations where I reveal a suitable gown from our product portfolio. Please note that the gowns listed as a solution here are not the only correct solutions, but just an example. The first requirement situation states the use as a visitor's gown in a clinic. It has to be PPE and medical device, but does not require barrier properties. In this case, our EcoCoat Pro, product reference 411, can be used. Requirement situation 2 requests a gown for the food processing industry. As product protection, our inspection gown, product reference 455, is suitable. An additional benefit is that this gown comes in a variety of colors, which can be used to visualize different production sections or simply represent corporate identity colors. The third requirement situation requests a gown for use against cross-contamination. It does not need to have a full coating, but requires partial coating. Therefore, our Splash Coat Pro Plus product reference 422 is suitable for this situation. Lastly, requirement situation 4 describes the use for veterinary examinations. Our solution here is the PE examination gown, product reference 621. It is fully made of PE film and makes the use of sleeve covers obsolete. It also has the benefit that it can be quickly ripped off the body after use, saving valuable time for the examination. This concludes our presentation of Category 1 gowns. I hope you learned something new today. Thank you very much for your attention and have a nice day.